This is the Chicken Foot Podcast, and I'm Arthur Spooner. That's Judah
And
Buddha.
I'm whoop, whoop, whoop.
And you're listening to Chicken Foot Podcast. Please follow us.
Quick, follow us!
You
That
can
makes me wanna
follow
get-
us, especially Judah, because he has chicken feet and he cannot run very fast. His shoes don't fit, and as you saw, it's hilarious, but it's very sad. So, right as we started, your beer went, so that's like the best. That's the best start. So today we're gonna look at some short films. Now, I actually stumbled across a short film that I thought was pretty funny, and it turns out Kevin James has his
Yeah?
own YouTube channel, and he
Yeah,
just
you
does
know that?
he just does short films. It's like, well, he does a lot of stuff, but he
I
has
love
like
his
short films. It's like 3 minutes or less. Have you seen any of his short films?
Oh yeah, like all the ones where he redoes clips from movies are hilarious.
So I haven't seen that where he's the sound guy.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Not all. Is he always a sound guy? Yeah, he's always a sound guy.
Okay,
yeah.
I haven't seen any of those yet. I found
Okay.
one and I found a few others, so I figure we kind of watch them.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
all right, yeah,
you
go ahead.
have them ready?
Yeah, I have them ready. I just we usually don't.
Well,
jump
while
in
you're
this
doing
fast.
that, I want to talk to you people about an important topic: male genitivity.
What?
First thing came to my mind. I have no idea what that means.
Male genitivity? Hold on a second. Hold on.
No.
Let's talk about male genitivity.
Genitivity is what is genitivity?
I don't know. That sounds Latin for genitivities.
No. Genitive means being grammatically correct.
Oh yeah. Well, all of our viewers knew that.
No, wait. Genitive definition: noting a case of nouns, pronouns, or adjectives. You know, like the genitive.
Yeah. Keep your genitivities to yourself. We have no women and children watching, so keep your genitivities to yourself. All right, the first one is called Metal Detector.
Okay. Now remember, we can't hear it unless you.
I was here first. I was here first. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
We don't get to see what it was?
No. So, so let me put my headphones in. All right. So the good thing, his short videos are, obviously short. That's less than 2 minutes. So
Yeah.
one of the things I think we always talk about is the humor has to be proportional to the time, right?
Yeah.
So if that fight scene, it took 2 minutes just to set it up, wouldn't be as funny. You know what I
Right.
mean? But the fact that it kind of like maybe 15, 20 seconds go into it, and then all of a sudden you got they're into the stalemate, right? So the tension rises early on. So there's tension there. And then it escalates to an absurd level, right?
Yeah.
Where they're sword fighting, which is a common culture that, you know what I mean? We watch movies and sword fighting. So that's kind of like a common culture there that he's kind of turning it upside down, where instead of swords, obviously they're doing metal detectors, And then where he's like leaning back and the thing is going over, that's
Like Matrix
classic,
set, Matrix.
classic movie kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he does some movie spoofy kind of stuff that is humorous, and it's not hilarious, but all of it together, because it's such a short film, and with all the little humorous things, it makes it funny.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's an element of surprise where you have the viewer's attention focused on, oh, he found something. What is it? But you never see what it was. One, I thought it would have been funny at the end. He's like, oh, it's a bottle cap. They like just fought over a bottle cap. But I didn't see it coming that there would be this epic
Yeah.
the surprise of using, like, nobody would use the metal detector as a sword because it's like $300 equipment.
Yeah.
You're not going to use it as a sword. And then the added surprise of the extra level where he blows the main character. Like this, if Kevin James's character had won, it would have been boring and predictable. Kevin James' character loses, you know, and so it makes it even more surprising that he's the one that gets blown. It's funny, he's like in the water.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Just good acting too.
Well, and cinematography was good. The other thing is, I think he is, well, one, he's got the horrible hairstyle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And he looks like a guy who would be, somebody who'd be like trolling over the beach. He kind of reminds me a little bit of your sense of humor, because he's physical. You know what I mean? Like his face, like, oh, and he's doing that kind of stuff. And to me, that's something that's your type of humor. I think if you were to do this, I think I could see you as being, this could be something you would come up with.
Yeah, yeah.
So, the common culture of both seeing people doing the sanding metal detector and the swords, the amplifying tension, and then the surprise of it starting an attack, but then also you're not expecting him to lose. So,
yeah.
All right. So the next one I'm going to show.
One last thing too is the juxtaposition of nerd guys. Like, this is a nerd thing, right? It's very like focused on little micro elements turning into a not nerd sword, right? Like a epic sword fight. That juxtaposition I thought was funny.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because if you think about it, we're kind of peeking into the culture of metal detector.
Yeah.
So maybe, you know what I mean? You're kind of seeing this is what the world is like when you're in there, is that it is a battle royale if you come across. So, all right.
Yeah, because who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The next one, you probably seen the next one, because I haven't seen this one before.
Is this Kevin James again?
Yeah, these are all Kevin James shorts.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this. Is good.
You know, she used to fart in the sleep.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, go to the beginning.
My wife used to fart when she was nervous. She had all sorts of wonderful idiosyncrasies. You know, she used to fart in the sleep. I'm sorry I shared that with you. One night it was so loud it woke the dog up. She woke up and got like, "Oh, was that you?" I said, "Yeah, I didn't have a heart attack." Oh, God. She woke herself up. And cut.
Oh, that was great stuff. Awesome, Mr. Williams. Oh, Mr. Damon. Mr. Damon. That was fantastic. You guys are amazing. Dude, hold up, everybody. I wasn't recording on that. I'm so.
You kidding?
I'm so sorry. I thought I hit the button. I didn't.
This is a f***ing
Is
show.
there any way we could?
Oh my God, I wasn't
Could you do that again? Can we get one more? I'm such an idiot. This is totally my fault. Everybody, can we get one? Is it one more possible?
Look, you're trying to f*** up me right now. A lot of that stuff goes back a long way between me and him. You know, not about you. It's not your fault.
It's totally my fault.
Look at me, son. It's not your fault.
It is. Who else is gonna press record?
It's not your fault.
It is. It's my fault. It's totally my fault.
No, you don't. It's not your fault.
I'm telling you, it is. I wish it wasn't. We're here, aren't
It's
we?
not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
So good.
Yeah. Now, did you hear like there was like a slight fart? Did you hear that?
No.
There's like right at the end. There's like a little squeeze where they're hugging. Yeah.
I didn't hear it. No.
That one was good. Well, one, the common culture is the movie. Well,
Yeah.
and it's assumed a lot of people have seen the movie, right? Because obviously, if
Right.
you haven't seen the movie, you wouldn't know what the scene was and how it changed, you know, and how Kevin James was taking over the part of Brett or whatever his name was.
Goodwill Hunting.
Goodwill Hunting.
Will.
Yeah,
Hunting.
and
Matt
and then
Damon.
yeah, and then obviously part of the culture of movie making, you know, where he's holding the sound, which accidents could happen, and I bet you that probably has happened before. Talk about, you know, embarrassment. Man, if you're a sound guy, and you're doing that and you forgot to press record and it was such a great take, oh my goodness, the embarrassment. So the tension is rising, but
Yeah.
part of the release of the tension is that you see that it's been edited to where the scenes have been cut to where it looks like they're pissed off at him and they're yelling at him. So
Yeah.
you're not really feeling that tension as much as you're amused by how they cut the film up a little bit to make it look like it's his fault.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the release at the end, I mean, I guess I didn't see that coming. I mean, that's one of the most famous scenes of Good Will Hunting ever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that was also a surprise
Yeah.
So it was kind of like that was the other surprise. I didn't realize he was standing in the same place that Matt Damon is supposed to be standing when it happens. But all I know is that when he comes back and he starts saying it's not your fault, then I realize what's really going on. I started thinking,
Well,
oh,
and
that's
how
pretty
they
good.
bridged it together was genius. Like they have Matt Damon like swearing
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
background, sort of muffled, like he's in the other room, and he comes back. He's like that, that stuff goes between us. Yeah, what did he say? That stuff goes back between us a long ways.
long ways.
Yeah,
Which is the scene between he's talking about Skarsgård
that. Yeah,
is the guy he's fighting with. So that one's a pretty good one. And I think
yeah,
that you're well, one, the scene is entertaining because you know the movie, so it is a little bit longer for the humor,
yeah.
But I think it's because you're used to the scene and you can kind of enjoy the humor in the actual movie scene. Where he's telling about the fart joke and stuff, but that's a long buildup. But because it's like a movie in a movie, and that's a funny part within that movie, anyways. It's kind of like it gives it that little bump to move forward. You know what I mean? It allows that length to not seem as long because it is a funny story, and he's just kind of mocking it a little bit by laughing and pretending like he's laughing, but he can't laugh out loud. You know what I mean? Where if he's the sound guy.
Yeah, it kind of builds the tension there because you're like, dude, stop laughing.
Yeah. I thought he was gonna laugh out loud, and then it'd get really quiet. So that's the other thing so far about his short clips, where I would think he would go. He doesn't go. He's complete surprise. Complete surprise.
Yes, yes. I appreciate that a lot. There's one where he is in. I don't know if he's the sound guy. Was it No Place for Old Men or? Is that? Did you see that clip?
No, not yet. But I have 3 more.
Oh, okay.
So this next one is pretty good. I think you'll like it.
I better.
I can't do it anymore, Marcus. I can't. I'm gonna die. I'm too young to die.
This is our life. This is our life now, okay? We're gonna go on. It's gonna.
This is a life now.
Marcus, I can't do it.
Why you shake my hand?
I gotta run. I can't go to jail. I can't go to jail, Marcus. I can't. Oh God, they're coming. They're coming.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Oh, no. Hey, there we go. There we go.
Oh, hey, Ted. Oh, hey, Marcus. How are you?
Good. We out for a little run?
Hey, yeah, just did 7. Might do another 7,
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't want to hold you up. Hey, let's grab dinner sometime.
I would love that.
All right.
Do me
Good
care.
seeing you. Absolutely. I mean.
What's your emergency?
Hi, yeah. I got a couple handshakers right in front of me.
Okay, sir, are they still in the vicinity?
Yeah, I'm staring at them right now.
Run.
That's pretty good.
that was really good.
I figured you would like that one. We usually don't do any kind of cultural stuff, but that one is very a little light on the cultural stuff. It's more, well, there's several cultural things. One, there's the cultural thing of a movie. We've all seen movies or shows where people are on the run and the police are chasing them, and you know what I mean, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And
Oh
so,
brother, we're out there kind of feeling.
yeah.
Brother, we're
So
out there.
we got that, and then
Yeah.
the other thing is he's mixing the culture of what we're kind of going through of the coronavirus, social distancing, and all the the Karen movement, about it, where anti-maskers or people yelling at people not wearing masks, where people are going over the top with yelling at strangers or doing whatever with strangers you see on YouTube or whatever. And he's mixing those two cultures, you know what I mean? Which is something we talked about before about comedy, where you're taking the culture of one thing and you're mixing another culture and you kind of overlap them a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, being able to superimpose one cultural idea into a different culture. Yeah, I think that there's comedy in there. Like, if kind of what you were talking about earlier with the metal detecting, is like, we don't know what that culture is. Taking this whole sword fighting. So this one is taking the running from the law trope into the modern day Karen movement.
And that's something I think we talked about when it comes to stand-up comedy, is you're taking like normal cultural behavior, say like standing in line at the DMV, right? And then you change it to like you got a big family, so waiting for the shower, waiting for the bathroom. You know what I mean? So you got the DMV thing, and then maybe change it, organize it, and like wait in line. It's like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. It's like the line's over there, and you got all the kids like,
take a number.
You know what I mean? So where you got like something familiar is like, you have a big family, one bathroom, you have to all share, and then at the same time like DMV, where it just takes forever, and you're like, oh, again with the wait.
And I would say that's humor that you love, and that you're good at sort of putting things together.
Yeah.
That's kind of like I always think about the okay, Pinocchio, whoop, or something, like that's like taking an idea and putting it in a different situation, like, oh,
yeah,
I see what you did there, type thing.
Well, speaking of which, that reminds me of a story. All right, so this is a story, you probably heard me tell this before, but it's taking a culture from something else and adding it here. So, have you ever seen Dances with Wolves with Kevin Costner? Yeah.
Yep.
And so in the movie, there's a scene because he's a Civil War soldier and he goes out west, and he's on the plains of whatever in the Midwest, right? And this is long before it's settled, so it's just really wide open and all that kind of stuff. And he comes across Native Americans, and then they save his life. He kind of is lost out there, and so he kind of is like, gets mixed with them, but long story short, he's trying to learn their language. Right. They're trying to communicate, right? So they have to start by like pointing out things, and he points out a buffalo, and he's like, Tatanka, Tatanka, Tatanka. You know what I mean? Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
So, all right, hold that, save it for a little bit later. So I was in Guam about maybe, it's been like 4 years now. Almost 4 years or something, 3 or 4 years ago. And we were discussing, all the clinicians were discussing a case where this couple, one spoke English, the other one spoke Japanese, and they had been married for like 5 years, and
Okay.
they don't speak the same language. And they were talking about how difficult it is to, and I was thinking they couldn't like Tatanka that out. You know what I mean? They couldn't be like, hey, Tatanka, this is a dish. You know what I mean? Like 5 years, you couldn't figure out some like way to. So I said that, everybody laughed, right? And my friend Northington asked me, he's like, man, how did you put that together? You know? And I just remember seeing that scene, and I thought, because it is kind of a funny scene where he's like,
Yeah.
Tatanka.
Tatanka. Well, the word Tatanka itself, there's something humorous about Tatanka.
Yeah. So it just, something about it, it's like mentally I put it in the holster and it just sat there. It sat there. And that's the thing about like humor is a lot of times something will be funny and I'll say, man, or I think of something that would be funny. And I was like, but you have to wait for a certain situation. And I just put it in the holster in my mind and it just sits there. And then at the right time, it'll come out. And so
and
for
in the
them,
right context,
in
right?
right context.
Because those were all your peers.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was sort of your age, grew up watching that movie. If you had said it with a bunch of millennials, it'd been like, to what?
Yeah. So it had to be the right context, right people.
Mm-hmm.
And the likelihood of that coming up, the movie came out, in the 90s? Right? So
early 90s, maybe
so
like 1990s.
That is something that's funny that just kind of stuck with me, and I had like in my holster for years and years. And then just out of nowhere, when this came up,
it came out in 1990.
When this came up, that's the first thing that popped in my head. It was like Tatanka, because they were, not talking it out. Like in my mind, I was thinking, you've been married long enough. You couldn't figure some words out. And then I just remembered the Tatanka and I said it. So everybody laughed. And my friend Northington was like, man, how did you make that connection? And this is something I think we talked about before when it comes to comedy is having a funny line or something and being able to kind of hold on to it and just able to access it and pull it out. You know what I mean? And I think that that's part of what we're trying to do is when we identify things that are humorous in these clips or being able to rewrite something that's humorous,
right,
is to be able to access that ability of finding something that's funny in your head and then pulling it to the forefront,
And that's one thing I try to tell my clients and my kids is the people that you think are the funniest, that are the best on their feet, they're not that way because, they are quick on their feet, but it's because they've been preparing. They prepare. People, great orators don't just get up there and like, it just comes to them naturally. It's like they've been thinking about it. They prepare.
Yeah.
They've got stuff in their holsters. They got stuff in their, toolbox. And sometimes it's like, it's quick thinking to be able to pull it out.
Yeah.
At that point. And it's like, there's a quote, the harder I work, the luckier I get, right? It's like the more stuff I have stored up, the quicker I am, right?
Yeah,
it's like you can still be quick, but how much more quick if you have things ready to go?
It's almost like special teams on like football or something, like an onside kick. They don't do it very often. So the situation only is called for so often, but they still have to practice it, right? And they're practicing it because they don't just wing it. You know what I mean? Like, well, remember that one that we, way in the back of the onside kick? Let's do. They have to practice it sometimes because they never know when the occasion happens and you need to